Physiology, Chapter 1, Part 1. Introduction to the human body. So, anatomy, the term means the study of the structure of the body. Where are things located? What do they look like? The word is from Greek, which means literally to cut, putting things together from slices. When they first started studying human anatomy, I'll show you a little video. It was kind of brand new. Well, it was brand new, and it was they used to pull actually cadavers out, take them out of the graves and pull them out and like dissect them in secret to learn about the human body. When it kind of started to get more legal, they would put a cadaver in the middle of like a lecture bowl where scientists, doctors sat around and watched one person dissect. That is anatomy. Where are things at and what do they look like? Physiology is how the body works. How do we breathe? What makes that possible? And including the study of homeostasis, what keeps everything in a steady state or internal equilibrium. Structure mirrors function. So a lot of the parts are designed in a way so they can do what they need to do. The bones of the skull are hard and their joints are tightly fit together to protect the brain. So the structure mirrors the function, what the purpose of that is. The thin air sacs in the lungs, they're called alveoli. They're lined, very, very thin layer of epithelial tissue that allows oxygen to go in efficiently and carbon dioxide to go out. So they're structurally designed so their function can work. And this is just this is a liver, and this is a little section of the liver. So microscopic, you can see this is where it was cut from. We're looking at it. Liver's one of the main jobs of the liver is to filter blood of toxins, etc. And so here the blood comes in through here, and these cells help filter whatever's out. There's actually other cells in there that help grab foreign things that shouldn't be in there. So the structure mirrors function. Subdivisions of anatomy. So anatomy means to cut. Surface anatomy is the forms and markings along the body surface. You can explore it just by visually, not cutting into the body. So looking at it, you can see that Mrs. Kohlheimer has a crooked nose. Now you know. Or physicians sometimes will, they'll feel your neck, maybe you're sick, and they'll palpitate or check to see if your lymph nodes are swollen. At surface anatomy. Gross anatomy, you actually have to cut the body open and look. And if you were to pry open my rib cage, you would see my lungs, you would see my heart, you would see the blood vessels in that area. But for the gross anatomy, you need to be able to cut through. There are two general approaches to studying gross anatomy. Systemic, which means a whole system. So you're looking at all the blood vessels or all the muscles or all the bones all at once. Regional approach is a specific part. So maybe it's the neck, okay? You're looking at just the neck or just the thorax, which is the trunk, above the diaphragm, or just the head. So anatomy is what you're in, class you're in. There are specific classes that have to do with anatomy. So developmental anatomy is the study of an organism from fertilization to its adult form, how develop over time. Embryology, even more specifically under there, is just from conception, sperm, egg, to the 8th week of gestation. So way down here. Embryology, because that's the embryo stage from conception to week 8. Histology, you can take histology class, college. Same with developmental anatomy. That's the study of tissues of the body. Look at tissue sections underneath the microscope, and you can know what tissue it is. We're going to do that. Cytology is the study of cells and their structures. So cytologists do all their work with the microscopes, and they can recognize different cells. Pathology, I think would be the most interesting to me, is the study of anatomical changes due to disease. So they use gross inspection, looking at the color of something, or maybe it's in the wrong spot, or maybe something's like a bulge is there that shouldn't be there, as well as cytologic histology, looking at the cells or the tissue samples. Maybe there's something abnormal. and they try to discover the source of the disease. So here's a section of a colon that has polyps that are pre-malignant, which they will become cancerous in a few years, that a pathologist determined. So I'm guessing the person had to get those removed. An autopsy, you've probably heard of autopsies before. After death, somebody can get an autopsy where the pathologist looks at the body, internal and out, to sometimes done to determine the cause of death or detect diseases that aren't diagnosed during lifetime, extent of injuries, maybe how they died, did that essentially lead to their death, or identify hereditary conditions. So on NCIS, a lot of the pathologists do work with how did this person die, markings, different things like that. Hereditary conditions, some couples that experience multiple miscarriages and they don't know why. And the pathologist can, if they can get a hand on that tissue, look at it, maybe they can identify hereditary conditions, genetic conditions that are causing that. This level from chemical structure to organism, you need to know. Chapter 2 is going to be about the chemical structure of an organism. Then chapter 3 is the cellular structure. Chapter 4 is the tissues, and then we'll get into organ systems after that, starting with the skin. So it goes from the smallest, right here, atoms, and then atoms make up cells. And cells are important. They do the work in the body, in each system. They are the basic structural and functional units of an organism. They do the work. If your cells aren't functioning, you aren't functioning. And there's over 210 different kinds of cells that a trained cytologist can recognize underneath a microscope, which is pretty cool. So atoms make up molecules, which make up cells that make up tissues. Tissues are groups of cells that work together to perform a similar function. And there are 4 different types of tissues. You can see them listed here. Epithelial tissue, like your skin, connective tissue, like adipose tissue, which is fat, muscle, and nerves. Tissues make up organs. To be considered an organ, you need to have 2 or more different types of tissue. Skin is an organ. It contains epithelial tissue right here on the surface. It contains connective tissue. There's blood in there, which is connective tissue. Nerves and muscles, little muscles right here that pull up your hair when you have goosebumps. And then, excuse me, organs make up an organ system. Reproductive system, digestive system, integumentary system, skeletal system, and they are related organs that carry out a specific function. Here's an example of the digestive system. Digestive system's job: take in food, break it down, absorb the nutrients, and produce waste. You got your teeth, you need your mouth, your esophagus, your stomach, your liver produces bile, your pancreas produces pancreatic acid. All of them contribute to the same function. And there are 11 different organ systems. There are 6 important life processes that we share, and you can see them listed there. And all parts of your body must be functioning together in a process called homeostasis to maintain that. We'll talk more about that later. So metabolism, when I say somebody has a high metabolism, what is metabolism? That is all the chemical reactions that happen in your body. That's a metabolism. Some of us have higher metabolisms. Yes, we probably work out more. Or you're born with it, or it's genetic. Responsiveness is your body's ability or cell's ability to respond to light, to sound, to it's cold out, so I have goosebumps, etc. Movement is moving, limbs, etc., but it's also cells moving and communicating with each other. Growth doesn't mean just physical growth. It can be increasing the number of cells. Your bones are actually constantly growing in density if you put stress on them. Differentiation is the process where your cells become specialized. We have stem cells that can become any type of cell in the body, and they can become specific cells. That's differentiation as they age. And then reproduction. Yes, it means to produce a new individual, but reproduction also means growth, repair, replacement. We're constantly making uh, red blood cells. That would be reproduction. Or if we break a bone, your body repairs it. That would be reproduction. And that is the end of part 1.